A little warning before we start. If anything we speak about on the episode today has affected you, please check out the show notes. Hello and welcome to Roots from LNER. I'm Clara and Steven. All right, tickets please.
Growing up in that environment, like I say, it's made me kind of fearless coming out of it because the things I've survived there, now I'm ready for anything. I've got the quick hit stuff that's going to happen, but give me like 5 minutes to really take you on a journey and I'm going to take you to a whole new world. Because my whole reason for being on this planet, in my opinion, is to share magic in one way, shape or form. And when I was in a position where I wasn't able to do that for forces outside of myself, then I kind of felt lost.
With food and drink delivered to your seat, it's freedom all the way with LNER. Welcome to Roots from LNER. I'm Clara Antho, and today I'm joined by arguably one of the greatest magicians of our time. Now, this man's tricks knows no bounds. He can levitate, he can walk across water, he can walk down buildings, he can turn water into ice with his bare hands, he can shrink phones and turn them back again. He's toured the world. He's had countless TV shows and is both a magician to the stars as well as a great street entertainer. Today on Roots, I'm delighted to be joined. And also, if you know me, you know that I'm a massive Prince fan. So in the style of Prince, I'm delighted to be joined by the artist, the magician, formerly known as Dynamo. It's Steven Frayne. Steven.
What an introduction. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to Roots. Well, look, it's all facts. It's all real. This is your, I was going to say, this is your life. But it's so exciting to have you here. New era. New chapter. We're on this train. We are going to your roots.
Yeah. Where are we going first? We're going Bradford. We're going home.
We're going home, mate.
Amazing.
You're taking me to Bradford. We're going to talk all about it. LNER is the official travel partner of Bradford 2025. And the big news is that LNER is about to triple its daily services to and from Bradford. Now, so you were born there, you grew up there. Tell me now in this moment in 2025, what does Bradford mean to you?
Bradford gave me all my sensibilities. It kind of set me up to take on the world and share my magic with everyone because growing up there, although I didn't feel there was that much opportunity and I felt like I had to hustle a lot harder to even get out of Bradford and share my magic with people, I think it gave me the foundations I needed so that when I'm traveling the world, I'm kind of fearless. Mm-hmm. I've found myself performing in the favelas in Brazil, in the slums in India, in the Hollywood Hills. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't really matter where I've gone. I've gone from council estates to royal estates. And I think because I've come from the council estates in the first place, it means I appreciate the whole journey so much more. And also I'm comfortable that if I lost it all tomorrow, I can just go back to where it all started. And in some ways, kind of had to do that anyway. I've kind of had to go back to my roots. I was incredibly unwell, been through so much over the last few years. And now I've kind of almost done a whole reset and I've gone back to, this beginning of this year, it was like a full circle moment because Bradford was capital of culture and I headlined the opening ceremony of it, performing magic for like 20,000 people in the square in Bradford, where I first, rewind 25 years before, I was trying to stop people on the street, trying to get them to pick a card, and nobody would take a card from me.
I bet I'm taking them now.
So to be on stage in that spot, sharing the magic with all those people, it really it took me back, but it also showed us just how far we've come.
Well, this is it. It's so exciting. I love that you said that you feel fearless, because would you say that is the essence of people of Bradford? Would you say that is it Bradfordians? Is that the
Bradfordians? Yeah.
Bradfordians.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Yes, I was like, I got that right. Would you say that Bradfordians are just generally fearless by nature? Genuinely?
I think that we are a city of people who get on with whatever we've got to get on with, regardless of whether the weather's good, whether we're having a good day or a bad day. Because I think you just have to soldier on. But when you get the good days, when you get the good things happen, then I think you appreciate it so much more. And don't get me wrong, there's people all over the country that are grafting, that are putting in the work. There's a lot of places like Bradford who hopefully will get to pick up the culture in the future, because I think already I can see the boost it's had to the city. The energy's there. There's the places like Mappa, which was a community centre I used to go to, that was the first place that ever really nurtured my magic talents. They actually introduced me to the Prince's Trust, and that's how I started my business with a business startup loan. King Charles, he lent me.
Oh yeah, it's from Prince to King now.
Yeah.
You both upgraded a little bit in life, I'd say.
His charity was kind enough to lend me a couple of grand to buy my first camcorder and my laptop, so I could start making and filming my adventures and making videos. And it seems obviously like £2,000 when you look at it now, it doesn't seem like a huge amount of money. But you've got to remember, he was only a prince back then when he lent me that £2,000. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't short of a few bob, was he?
No,
yeah.
But yeah, like that was like literally the beginning. And if it wasn't for the youth centre mapper on West Bowling Estate, and the people that were volunteering there, like Emil, who run this company called Explosion, who did like excursions, bringing talent to London to enter competitions, like went down to this place called Urban Voices in Oceana in Hackney, I believe it was. And it was like this big talent contest, but I wasn't there as singing or performing. I was just there along for the ride with the Bradford Juice crew. I don't think they're all still around individually, but they're not around together at the moment. But yeah, I went down with them and started to meet industry people, and that's when I first found Covent Garden as a performing spot. James Street Corner is the famous legendary Magician's Corner, and it was from that point, like I was like 15, I'd come down on the £1 bus because I couldn't afford a train back then. I've upgraded definitely because look where we are,
honey.
Like,
look where we are.
But I came down on the bus to London. It took like 8 hours. This was before Wi-Fi, right? So it was well boring. Thankfully, I like reading and I had lots of books. But I'd get down here, go Covent Garden, perform, and then crash on another magician's couch, and then go back home every weekend and just come back every week and just do the same thing until I was old enough to basically move out of Bradford and move to London. And even when I came to London, I didn't really have a plan. I just basically, I bought my friend a sofa bed for his living room, and I lived in his living room like rent-free for the first year in Walthamstow.
So hang on a minute. So did you buy him the sofa bed under the guise of this is for you, or more of this is for me to live in your gaff?
It was a bit of both, because he didn't have like enough money to kit out his place, right? So I was like, well, I need a place to stay I need somewhere to crash while I find my feet in London. So how about I buy you some furniture for that room, like a sofa bed and whatnot, so I can sleep on it. And then you get to keep it all once I'm gone. And then turns out he ended up getting this amazing job. He got an amazing job managing a place called Too Much, which was an amazing nightclub in the heart of Soho, which is now called The Box.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So it was that venue.
The notorious
Back
Box
then,
Club, right?
It was so it was called Too Much, right? And he got given the manager's job, and then he gave me my first residency. So I was literally, I had a gig performing there, and I'd found a place to live where he'd basically, with his job, he got given a penthouse apartment on Floral Street in Covent Garden, right? And there was one spare room. So he basically said, all right, you give me like £100, you can stay there every week. And he gave me a residency, making sure I got paid £100. And then I'd go perform in the club, perform in Covent Garden, making tips. And, like the people who used to go to the club were like big like superstars like Kate Moss and stuff like that were in there. And I'd perform magic and I'd get given like a £50 note tip. I'd never seen like a pinky at that point. I was like, whoa, this is mad. And we literally, I was having the time of my life. It was amazing.
Do you know what? I was just, as you're talking, I'm just like envisioning like, younger Stephen, like getting like that £1 bus constantly, then having this switch of life, you and your mate in this smaller flat, then all of a sudden you were just open up to this whole world. That must have been quite overwhelming. Because what a culture shock.
I was so starry-eyed by it all, like, but I just kind of embraced it because I was seeing the world for the first time. You know what I mean? Like I'd gone from literally seeing the areas in the council estate that I couldn't walk past because I get beat up, right? Or like doing magic to people, but doing it in the fear that if it goes wrong, they're going to batter me, right? To then suddenly being in a place where, I mean, let's be honest, like if I'm doing magic in a fancy club in Soho, it's very unlikely if a trick goes wrong, I'm going to get punched in the face.
Yeah, I don't think Kate Moss is going to hit you.
So I think that's why the fearlessness came, because I'm just like, well, I've been through so much in the foundations of my life that, from running away from like, in my career, I feel like a lot of it stemmed from running away from something, or from trying to be better than what people expect of me, trying to, like, early on, if I'd have said, well, I lived in Bradford to people in Bradford, it would have been looked down upon, they wouldn't maybe let a kid in from that estate, and then over time, I tried to break through those stereotypes. And then eventually, I tried to go further afield and move to London. But when I was moving to London, I was kind of running away from situations at home. Like my mum, she had unfortunately picked at certain times some bad boyfriends who weren't particularly very nice to me, quite abusive to me, also quite racist as well. And Bradford, if you've ever been there, back in the day, it's very multicultural city. It still is now, very multicultural. But like the area that me and my mum were living in at the time, the estate we moved in, we'd moved from West Bowling estate to a different estate, which was predominantly a white estate. But I'm mixed race, so like, and I was at the time I was at an age where the complexion in my skin was a bit more noticeable than when I was a baby. I kind of no one really.
What's your roots?
My mum's English and my father is Pathan, which is a tribe, the tribe is based, in Pakistan,
Right.
in Afghanistan, they're like a nomadic kind of tribe.
Right.
And so I was raised in a white household in predominantly white areas. But as I got older, it was clear to everybody in those areas that I wasn't fully English, and it was a very tough time at that. It was around the era when the Bradford riots took place. A lot of big race riots. So it was quite a tricky time to navigate. But then we moved to West Bowling Estate, which was a much more mixed estate, and that's where Mappa Youth Club was. And suddenly, I felt like I felt like safe. Do you know what I
Felt like
mean?
you belonged.
Yeah. Like I didn't feel like I had to hide. Like for the first, I'd say 15 years of my life, my parents, so my mum, my grandma, bless them, like they meant this, they were doing this to protect me. They said, if anybody asks, just say you're white. And I hid my heritage for years. It's quite mad now because, I hid it for so long, even to like girlfriends and like nobody knew. But then, my wife, she's amazing. I'm married. She's also got a similar mix. So she's half Irish and half out of Mongolian. So like with her, I never thought I had to hide it because we were one and the same.
Yeah.
And it's only kind of in my adult life that I've really fully, embraced it. I think, fear can do a lot of crazy things to you. But I think growing up in that environment, like I say, it's made me kind of fearless coming out of it because the things I've survived there, well, now I'm ready for anything.
I can really feel that off of you. You've got a great sense of just calm confidence as I see you today. Like you just feel like you know who you are now more than ever, it seems.
Yeah, I think so. Like I feel even in my adult life when I was performing as Dynamo, there was always an element of me hiding behind the mask of something. It gave me like a false confidence that I could be a character, and it allowed me to perform in a way that felt fearless, but it actually wasn't because I knew deep down. I almost had this oxymoron position in life because as Dynamo, I could do all these incredible things, but there was days where Steven, where I struggled to get out of bed in the morning, and then with my Crohn's disease kicking off, I was diagnosed when I was like 14 and I've had many operations, but over the last, 5 or 6 years, it got really bad. And that literally put me in hospital in a position where I couldn't do magic anymore. So to be in that position was incredibly scary because I was like, the world is expecting me to get better and come back and be Dynamo, but I really need to work on Steven. And I think that's what I've been doing. And this shows that I'm working on now, doing 47 shows in Soho at a place called Underbelly Boulevard, which ironically is literally next door to the box. So it's next door to where I got my first ever residency. So it's another full circle moment. And it kind of wasn't planned. Like I never planned to do any shows this year. I was getting ready to make a big TV show. And then in November, I went to see a show at this venue. And I just fell in love with the venue, and I'm like, I really love to do shows here. And out of the blue, I got an email from the people who run the place saying, we heard you came to a show. Hope you liked the venue. If you want to have a tour of the backstage, we'd love to give you it. And if you ever want to do a practice show here, then we'd open our doors to you. And then I'm like, I don't want to do a practice show. I want to do like a whole run. When can you fit me in?
Yeah.
And then they says in 2 months. I'm like, I ain't got a show, but let's work it out. And I literally finished writing the show 2 weeks ago. And we open tomorrow night. So I've had 2 weeks to just hammer it and just try and make it the best it can be. And I know that there's that thing when you're creating a show, a lot of it you actually learn when you're on the stage with the audience, because there's only so much I can plan for. It's not like a comedian where you can go to comedy clubs and you can practice your jokes, and if one of the jokes bombs, it's not the end of the world. As a magician, and as someone who's been seen as a successful magician, I can't really go practice in public because.
So who do you practice on?
My dog a lot of the time, I'll be honest. My little dog Lily, like she's the best reactor ever. She gets on with me as well. Like literally, I have the best conversations with my dog because she doesn't answer back. She just listens to me when we do walks through the heath. You know what I mean? She's amazing.
True loyalty.
Yeah. Like my wife is hard to perform magic for because I don't know. She's the one person I always get nervous in front of.
Is she allowed into? Actually, here's a question: if you are partnered with a magician, are you allowed into the magician circle by proxy? Are you allowed, or is it is it super strict?
I mean, I'm quite high up in the circle, so I could probably get her in. But I mean, she'd sing like a canary, man. You know what I mean? Like yeah. She said, "Don't tell me anything." Because I might be with my girlfriends one night, we might be having some wine, and then it might all just come out.
Do you know that trick, guys?
Yeah. So yeah, but I think she over the years, she's likes more and more to not know what's coming. So like my last two TV shows, she didn't watch any of them until they were on TV. She didn't know anything about any of them. Whereas early on in my career, I'd come home and I'd show her like the first edit, and then the next night I'd show her the next edit, and she goes, "Well, you've only changed one thing. I don't need to watch the whole 90 minutes again to see one difference." And for me, I'm like, the minutiae is important, but the details are important. But she's like, "Just show me it when it's finished." Okay. So now, like this show I've been writing, she has not seen any of it. She doesn't know what's happening. She's often giving me like song recommendations. You should use this in your show and you should use that. And sometimes I take the recommendations. So I think she'll like some of the music in the show. But yeah, like I think it kind of gives us a healthy relationship, like there's an air of mystery still there.
That's what they say. Keep things spicy. You got to keep some mystery in there. Don't let her see your tricks.
Yeah.
No, I respect it. Okay, so there's so many things I want to pick up on here because I loved what you said about, I mean, obviously I didn't like the fact you had to go to hospitals because you got very ill, because that's obviously very sad, but just having to really contemplate your life and who you want to be and how you're going to come back. Like, do you feel like that situation, even though it was obviously, not great, do you feel like that gave you a chance to sort of be reborn? Did it feel like a necessary rebirth looking back to where you are now?
Yeah. Looking at it now, it did. When it was all happening, I literally felt like my whole life was being, taken away from me. Because my whole reason for being on this planet, in my opinion, is to share magic in one way, shape or form. And when I was in a position where I wasn't able to do that for forces outside of myself, then I kind of felt lost. I was suicidal. I was, and I was on all this. I don't think the medication in the hospital helped my mental state. I think it helped my physical state. But when you're on a cocktail of 28 tablets a day, it's going to have side effects. It's going to affect your circadian rhythm. It's going to affect how you think about things and how your moods go. And it literally I was in a very vicious cycle. I didn't want to be here. But then over time, I started to accept my fate, accept the situation I was in, and started to find ways to try and find the magic, even if I couldn't do it myself.
And what were they?
Well, I think ultimately magic is the people around you. The nurses, they did an incredible job at getting me back to where I am now. I wouldn't be here without them, ultimately. My therapists that my wife introduced me to, there's my dog, like the things that are around you, the simple things that you maybe take for granted, they are the real magic in life. And I think it made me realise that we all have the capacity to share magic, even if we're not doing tricks or not doing the type of things that I do. You know, people listening to this, what you do every week, or they will take inspiration from it, and that is a sense of magic. You know, because they'll connect with you, and you'll move them in a way that you probably don't even realize. You know, so I think noticing that the magic is in all of us made me not feel as bad that it wasn't in me at the time, because I still was getting to see it. And then over the last few years, I've really leaned into that and tried to share the magic of others within my magic. So like in my TV show where I buried myself alive, I
As you
did
do.
that. Spoiler alert, I survived. I got out. I'm here. You can still watch it though on Sky. So it was called Dynamo is Dead, and it was me basically cleansing myself of all of the past so that I could leave it in the ground and start again. And in that show, I went and found other inspirational people who, you know, people that you would know, like Coldplay, Demi Lovato, Dave Chappelle, Raphael Rowe, Pete Davidson. I mean, it was an incredible roster of people in this show. And we had candid conversations about how they'd overcome similar situations in their lives and somehow find the way out the other side, found the magic that they needed to get to where they are now. And it was amazing, just the insights that the fact that they allowed me into their world in such a way. But then all of the magic that was performed for them, they actually did the magic. So if you watch the magic now, knowing that information, you realize that I never touched a Rubik's Cube that Dave Chappelle solves behind his back without realizing it. You know, Stephen Bartlett separates the cards himself. I don't touch them. You know, Kesha pulls the heartstring out of my chest. You know, it was about showing that ultimately you don't have to be a dynamo to do magic. You know, we can all do magic in our own special way. And then in my last show, Miracles, also available to stream on Sky. Still, right
Steven said, "I'm going to get those plugs in," and I respect it.
so that show, I literally went back to the streets. You know, it was no celebs, no big names, but the names were actually incredible and huge. There was a young boy called Travis, a 9-year-old. Well, he's 10 now, but a 9-year-old from Bradford at the time, who set up a food bank after an interaction with a homeless guy. And he went home and basically sold his toys and set up a food bank. And that food bank helps 200 people a month. Like, it's incredible. It's still going. When I actually featured him in the show and then I spoke about it, I did an interview for the Big Issue magazine, and then they actually picked him to be the top 100 young change makers. So that's real magic. That's like taking a simple trick or a simple bit of a TV show I've made and it becoming something far bigger than I ever expected it to. You know, then I did we also had there's a guy called Alan who runs this football club called the Brentford Penguins, which is the first football club for Down syndrome kids in the UK. And it's amazing. They just made me an ambassador, so that's awesome.
Right on.
We filmed with a guy called Ashley at the Upper Rooms, which is a soup kitchen. And when he first started going to the soup kitchen, he was there because he was homeless and he needed food. And now he runs the whole department. So, it's kind of like these people are really transforming their lives or transforming other people's lives. And they are doing magic way better than I could ever do. So to be able to highlight them, it's amazing. And it's quite exciting. And this is me boasting now, but...
Boast away.
But no, I literally found out this week that been nominated for a Royal Television Society Award. I've never been nominated for one of them before.
Amazing.
I mean, I'm up against, Claudia Winkleman and Ant and Dec, so I'm obviously not going to win because they're veterans, you know what I mean? But it's just nice to kind of be mentioned amongst those people.
I mean, that's some great company to be in. And from the little boy, from the estate who didn't feel like he fit in, who, overcame some horrendous situations. So I remember I took my nephew to one of your shows, and I remember you had this amazing animation sort of showing your story about how you got bullied and being chucked in a bin and all of that. And it was painful. It made me feel sad to watch, but seeing the person that you've become and understanding what you had to go through to be able to, like, as you say, share magic with people. It all seems very fortuitous now you've got your show next to like where you first started out. Like, it seems like you are in a phase of your life where you keep being brought back to places that we're going to show you who you were going to be, and it seems really special.
I think the big difference now is that I'm performing for other people with intention, whereas there was a time in my life where I was performing just for me.
For ego.
Right, for ego. Then there was a time where I was performing for other people, but it was because I felt a pressure to live up to an expectation that they had, because they'd, for some reason, decided that they liked what I do, and then they'd watch my TV shows, and then they'd allow me to get, to have a career. They bought tickets for shows and stuff like that. And that made me definitely feel a pressure, because I don't think anybody is born and raised to become, to have that many eyes on them.
I absolutely agree.
For me, I've always been quite shy. When I perform magic, it's different. Like, something takes over me. But I get scared to go on stage. Like, I'm petrified, like, right up until the moment. But then there's a moment when I'm on the stage and I do my first piece of magic, and then suddenly everything just falls into place, and I forget where I am, and I'm in my own little world. But then I come off the stage and I'm scared of the real world. So it's kind of like that feeling of performing for other people but not enjoying it myself was a real hindrance. Definitely had a big effect on my mental health. But now I'm performing for other people because I want to. Whereas now I'm not looking at these walls as obstacles anymore. I'm just going through them. Do you know what I mean? I don't
But that's
care
the
anymore.
confidence I'm talking about that I see in you. It's sort of like, you're like, yeah, this is what I do, but I'm doing it now, with intention and with purpose. And it doesn't seem, correct me if I'm wrong, that it's done to people please, in the sense of out of fear of what people may think of you. You're doing it to please the people.
Yeah. Like, I'm not performing anymore so that, for just because I want everyone to come see. I'm doing what I do to show all these people that maybe they can do it too. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different intention behind it all, a different narrative. And I think that simple shift has changed everything, changed my whole outlook on it. And, I think that's incredible, considering where I've just come from, how dark a place I was in, to be in this light now. It's amazing. So I'm quite excited to hit the stage tomorrow night. A little nervous, don't get me wrong. Like, I think I always will be, but I think that's a good thing. I think I've just learned to embrace all the things that scare me. Again,
that fearlessness, man. And also, you've called it Up Close and Magical, which is chef's kiss.
Yeah, my wife came up with that name.
Of course she did.
And like, when she said it, and at first I thought it's a bit cheesy, but you know what? I hate to say it, but my wife's always right.
Hang on, say that again.
I know. She's got it on record now. My wife is always right.
I did that for her. And even all the wives who are watching and listening.
A lot of the times, I don't like to give her that credit, but she is. And
it's on record now.
She came up with that name, and that's the name of the show.
And she chose it very, very well. And, as you speak, I'm thinking about, obviously you as a little kid, but now, again, you're going back to Bradford. It's now City of Culture. You've got your residency. I'm sure, no doubt, there's a little kid watching you now, taking notes, thinking, I can do it.
But it's mad. Like, it's funny. Going back to Bradford, it was in Bradford where my wife came up with the name of the show. It was literally after I'd come off stage doing the Capital Culture launch. We went to my favourite restaurant in Bradford, Mile Hall, that my friends run, and we were upstairs eating, and we were like throwing out, just like saying, what should we call the show? We just literally confirmed it, like the venue, the dates, like, right, we need an actual show name now. And she just threw that out there. And, like I say, I thought it was a little cheesy. But then I think that's what makes it work, 'cause it's catchy.
That's it. And you want that sort of knowing wink to the audience. It's a little bit razzle dazzle, but but you know what it is.
Yeah. But no, it is great. And these shows are a rare opportunity to genuinely get up close with me, because there's only 200 people per show. So it's a super intimate space. And there's points in the show where it's fully immersive, where every single person in the audience, whether they're sat in the balcony, in the back seats, in the front seats, they're all involved in the magic at the same time. There's very few shows that can really give that to somebody. Magic is something that it's best experienced live. It looks amazing on TV, but getting to see it live, getting to feel it, that's the thing that I'm excited, because that you can't beat it. When I'm performing live, I feel the most alive. And when the audience feel it, when there's that connection in the room, there is like a sense of, I don't know, like
community?
Magic. Well, community, but also magic in the air. Community is, I think, important for me, because I feel like magic's given me a community that I never had. Like growing up where I didn't go out that much because it was dangerous. So I'll just stay in my bedroom and read books and get lost in the magical world, reading about all these incredible places that I thought I'd never get to visit, and now, I get to go and film in these places, for my TV shows and stuff like that, and travel around the world, sharing magic in the places that I read about. But like, I was so lonely, and I didn't really have a sense of community. I didn't really have a big family around me. But when magic came into my life, it was a way of bringing people to me. And now, there's going to be 200 people a night coming to join me in my world for a couple of hours and get lost in the magic.
And we all need that escapism, especially in 2025, Talking about your travel around the world and, where this job has been able to take you, I want to take it back to like the first time you were able to even leave Bradford. Now, I know you mentioned the £1 bus, but like as a little kid, were you able to go on holidays much? And do you remember your first holiday as a kid? And also I want to talk about the first time you were able to take yourself somewhere nice with magic.
So my first holiday was a school trip. I didn't go to the best school, right? And I know I didn't go to the best school because of where they take you on school trips, right? Because I had friends who went to better schools, and they went to France, or they went to Italy or Rome, or they went to interesting places. Now, I'm not dissing this place, because I had an amazing time, and it was, I still remember it to this day. But our school trip, we went to Llandudno.
In Wales?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So technically I did leave England.
Yes.
Right? So it was, probably my first time ever leaving England. And I had an amazing time, but it was like such a random place to go for a school trip. Because we weren't going to look at, we weren't going to Rome to look at museums. We weren't going to, we weren't going to look at anything specific. It was just a random weekend away, and we just went around the shops and stuff like that, and it was the first time I'd had a bit of pocket money. So I went to the music shop and I bought a little Walkman. It was like a tape deck Walkman, so it only cost like a tenner. And then I bought a couple of tapes. My first ever cassette tapes I ever bought, right? This is a random mix, yeah?
Go on.
I bought Joan Osborne's What If God Was One of Us single.
Great tune.
Right? Amazing tune, right? And then I also bought Snoop Dogg's Dogfather album cassette tape.
I mean, you couldn't get two artists on the most opposite sides of the scale if you ever could.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, I still literally both the album and then that single are still to this day classics. They're still on rotation. They're amazing. And I would never have discovered Snoop Dogg if I hadn't gone to Llandudno.
And you've done magic for him before, haven't you?
Yeah. He actually did. He did a 3-star rap about my magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And me and Uncle Snoop, is
Or do you call him by his government name? Do you call him Calvin?
Yeah. Well, actually, when he first saved his contact in my phone, he put it as Calvin and stuff like that. So that was cool.
Oh, you got it like that. Okay.
So yeah. It's mad. If I hadn't gone to Llandudno on that school trip, right, would I have, become a fan of his music to the point where when I find out that he's performing somewhere, that I get a ticket and then go and try and meet him and hustle backstage and do magic to him? Maybe that never would have happened. I'm sure it would, because he's a legend. You know what I mean? Musically, his music's, he's always put out consistently good music.
But hip hop's always had a big influence on your style, hasn't it? And just how you present yourself. Because I remember when I first started hearing about you, people did refer to you as the hip hop magician, because you do a little body pop and
Yeah. Oh, Yeah,
and deal your cards out. And it was like, oh,
I still do.
Yeah.
I still do. I'm doing a little bit of that in the show. I'm kind of, going to bring that back out.
Yeah, so you see, if it wasn't for that trip to Wales and like opening up your musical palette,
I mean, I would consider myself, if I'm honest, more of a grime kid, more of a garage kid, because that was the era that, for me, when I first moved to London, all I wanted to do was meet like the So Solid crew, meet like Dizzy Rascal, Asher D, these people were like, they were the inspirations to me. They were my heroes. I never imagined I'd get the possibility of meeting like the American hip hop superstars. They felt like a bit more unattainable, but people like Dizzy, felt like one of us. Do you know what I mean? And it was mad because in my first ever TV show, I did a Channel 4 show called Dynamo's Estate of Mind, which was aptly titled thanks to the rapper Skinny Man letting me use it. He had an album called Cancer State of Mind. So he let me use the name State of Mind on the show, and I used some of his songs and some of Professor Green's early songs and Dizzy's songs and stuff like that. And Dizzy was in the first show. So like that was like a dream come true. And now we're still good friends. So it's kind of like mad, like your aspirations, like when you're younger, when we were on the estate, the things that we really aspired to have weren't like big fancy stuff. It was like, we want like, the Adidas tracksuit. We want the things that seem to come so simply these days. We never expected to have like crazy big dreams, But I think because we didn't chase the big dreams, it's why somehow it's led us to exceed what we expected to get to. And then we're not like, we're never disappointed. We always kind of seem to get more than we bargained for.
Yeah.
So sometimes not setting too high expectations means that you can only come out on top.
Yeah, because I think there's that balance to be had, isn't there, between not limiting your belief in yourself, but also having a grounded sense of reality, so that if anything extra than what you wanted happens, like that's a win, and if it doesn't,
Which I think it's about tempering your ambitions, and understanding. And this may become more from maturity than young age, because definitely when I was younger, it was just naivety taking me through. Ignorance was bliss, and I was just surviving somehow. But now, when I'm working on something, and I probably did this when I was growing up, but I didn't realise I was doing it. If I'm working towards something, I don't look at the end goal. I look at the incremental steps it's going to take to get me to the place where I'm good enough to maybe get to that end goal. Because if you aim too high, you can quite easily be deflated if it's not happening fast. Life happens in small moments, and it's about embracing those small moments and letting them kind of mount up to create the bigger moments. But don't let those small moments pass you by.
Absolutely. And those are the small moments that people enjoy with you, whether it is, you stopping them to do a trick in the street, whether you're on a stage for millions of people, thousands of people, 200 people in a theatre. It's like, it is those small things, isn't it? Those moments of magic. You're just like,
yeah. Or even like now, like I started a new Instagram, Dynamo is Dead. And on there, I'm just putting out little 20-second videos here and there, and they're popping off. They're going, and it's kind of amazing because, back in the day, you had to make like long form content to even get noticed. But now it's kind of like, things happen so fast. Like
our attention spans have been shot to so it's that thing of like, if you can grab my attention for 20 seconds doing a trick or just doing whatever,
it's perfect for
I'm
magic.
into it. Yeah.
It's perfect for magic. But what's good is that when people come and see me live, if they've seen me do something on social media and it's captured their attention, when they come see me live, they're not ready for what I'm about to give them, because I've got the quick hit stuff that's going to happen. But give me like 5 minutes to really take you on a journey, and I'm going to take you to a whole new world.
Oh, listen, and also, FYI, dear listener, Dynamo's going to be doing a trick for me, which you'll see on the socials. But I'm very excited. I'm excited to see what you've got in your bag for later on. I want to talk to you more about just travel, because look, it's very clear you've got a very strong work ethic. You work very, very hard. But I want to know what you do to relax and where you go to relax, if you can even relax, because is your mind always ticking?
Yes,
right.
I stay up every night till about 5 or 6 a.m. even last night.
Seriously?
Yeah, like I for some reason it hits midnight and suddenly the ideas start to come into my head, and then I just ride that wave till I tire myself out. So I've got a magic studio. So like like a musician has like a music studio, or I have a magic studio, which is kind of like it's literally where the magic happens. And I'm there most nights, or I literally wake up, go there, and then I've got like a massive library in there. I've got editing suites, I can edit my own videos. I've got an area like this where it's like a studio setup where I can film content. I've got a building area I can build props. Like it's like a one-stop magic shop. But also got like big cinema screen in there and kind of pool table and pinball and boys' toys that basically just when sometimes if I've got a bit of like creative magic writer's block, I play a game of pool, and that's when the ideas start flowing again, when I'm not trying to put them out into the world. So I think for me, that's my chill out place.
Yeah.
I'm not a big nightclubber. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like, I do go and party every now and then, but I like to work. I like to be working on something,
I could imagine that when you go out, people are always like, go on, do this trick.
That's the thing. Like for me, my work outside of the TV shows and outside of everything and the live shows is often like performing at parties. He's booked to perform at corporate events. So when I go out, it can be a little bit like what do they call it, like a busman's holiday. So I try and I have to try and stop myself going out too much, because if I'm out at every single party, then people aren't going to book me because they can just invite me. Do you know what I mean? And I've got to make a living. Do you know what I mean? Like
absolutely,
this magic don't come for free, people. Come on. But I love, don't get me wrong, I love sharing it. And that's the problem. I love sharing it so much that if you said just go to the party but don't do magic, I wouldn't be able to do it, because I'm with people. They're going to ask me to see something, and I've been working on new ideas all day, so I'm going to want to try it out on somebody.
Okay, so when it comes to travel and, just all the places you've been, where is the most random to you place that magic has taken you? Where have you not expected it to pop off and it has? Or do you expect it to pop off everywhere?
I know I've got the capacity to make it pop off everywhere. But I think, to answer your question, the place that I felt was the most magical was a place called San Miguel de Allende. I think I'm saying it right. It's in Mexico, and it's this incredible little village. They filmed like incredible films like Once Upon a Time in Mexico, like From Dusk Till Dawn, that sort of thing. And it's like straight out of a movie, but it's just real life. The buildings are genuinely like this. They've been there so long. They've weathered amazingly. It's like when you walk through the city, it's kind of like all these beautiful colours, like all the walls, they're not just regular brick walls, they're like multi-coloured places. And when I was there, I was filming, it was Day of the Dead.
Oh, their beautiful festival they do every year to mourn their loved ones. Yeah.
So like if you've ever seen that opening scene in James Bond, in the James Bond film with Daniel Craig, when he's walking through the Day of the Dead festival, it was like that. But it was just amazing.
So all the colour, those beautiful cutouts, the skulls.
Yes, everything. It was like, so filming there for me was, and I didn't expect it to be as amazing as it was. Like, it's one of those places where, I'd gone there to work and film magic, and it's on my bucket list to go back to with the family. I want to, sometime in the future, like, I don't just want to go back with my wife. I want to go back and take 20 of us, and just really like spend a week there showing it off to the family, because I just found it was so amazing. Take away my magic, the place itself was magical. So it's definitely somewhere I want to go back to. But it's definitely a luxury to be able to get to go somewhere like that. But yeah, that's definitely high up there on my bucket list to go back to. But also so fortunate I got to go there in the first place.
Yeah. Are you a staycationer? Do you like to stay anywhere else in the UK? Are you very much like, I'm in my yard, I'm staying in my house? Or
no, like I definitely, there's a few moments each year that are on my calendar that I have to do. Glastonbury is one of my favourite places. Me and my wife met at a festival, at a V festival, which doesn't exist anymore. But Glastonbury is a couple of days after our wedding anniversary, so it's kind of like we celebrate there every year.
Perfect.
But we don't stay on site. I don't drink, so I drive everywhere, so I can drive in and on and off site every day, and we often find like cool little cottages to stay in. And we stayed in this amazing place the other year. It was like these hills where they'd built like hobbit houses into the hills.
I've seen those.
It was amazing. Like, and
you're a Tolkien fan, aren't you? So
but they had all the amenities. You know, like had Wi-Fi and everything, and you know, a bathtub. I love baths, so like you know, they had a bathtub, like a cast iron bathtub, and that. You know what I mean? It was like, they were just cool. Like, and we were supposed to go back on the Sunday for the festival, but we didn't end up going because we just loved the place so much. We just ended up staying in the cottage.
Where is the next dream place for you to take your magic? Like, where would you like to travel to do your magic that you've never been before, or have you been everywhere at this point?
I've been to a lot of places, yeah, but there's a place I want to go and film at that I have been to before, but I went when I was very young. I went when I was 19, and the circumstances I went there was kind of strange. So I want to go back and film in New Orleans.
Oh my God, I love New Orleans. I went once, I fell in love with it.
I went when I was 19, and the reason I was there was my uncle has a company called Otter Water Sports. They make they're famously known as making some of the best dry suits in the world. And they had a big conference happening in New Orleans. So I went with him to help him on the stand. And when I was there, it was so amazing. Like, you know, walking down Bourbon Street, and like there were street performers, there were street magicians. Like, and that was the first time I'd actually seen proper street magicians. Like, not like, you know, I've seen magicians in Covent Garden, but like this was different. These were like the OGs of it. And it just, it changed me. And it's one of those places that I want to go back and film at some point. It's on my bucket list. It's somewhere that I've been working on ideas for a new TV show, and it's one of the places that I'm trying to get, you know.
Do you know what? I so look forward to seeing that, because for anybody that hasn't been to New Orleans, it genuinely is a magical place. Like, you can feel it. There's a mysticism in the air, isn't there?
Yeah. It's also edgy as well. Like, so, you know, I remember like hearing gunshots walking down the street down Bourbon Street, and I was like, well, what's that? And I said to him, what's that? And he goes, oh, don't worry about it. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it's gunshots. But like, you know, it was, there was something kind of edgy about it, but also so magical. Like, I knew that I wanted to go back when I was old enough to be able to be like, you know, mindful of where I am and what I'm doing, you know, go back there, you know, go back there with a crew, you know what I mean? So, so I'm not on my own. I'm not just with me and my uncle, you know what I mean?
Safety in numbers.
Yes.
I get it.
It's all about embracing life right now, and that's what I'm trying to do. It's my, you know, I'm here as Steven Frayne. I'm doing my first live shows as Steven Frayne, and it's going to be up close, it's going to be magical, and yeah, thanks for coming on this journey with me.
Steven Frayne, let's put some respect on both your names. Thank you so very much for joining us on Roots of LNER. Now, if you want to see Steven at his London residency, up close and magical, a few tickets are left, so head over to the Underbelly website. That's underbellyboulevard.com/tickets. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Roots, and if you like what you heard, why not rate and review and give us a follow wherever you get your podcast. Also, look out for Steven's Quiet Coach episode, which is going to drop next week. We'll be hearing about his travelling snacks, tracks and hacks and places that have inspired him and changed him. And do stick around and keep your eyes on our socials, because you'll be seeing some extra magic from Steven a bit later. With food and drink delivered to your seat, it's freedom all the way with LNER. Roots from LNER, a distorted production,